What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? We back in the building. Let's go. Now we had some technical difficulties last stream. We had to end up prematurely. Bits says hi. What up, Bits? Bits underscore. Was that an avocado or lemon? Hi. What's up, Bits? But this time looks like all the technical difficulties are solved. If you guys can hear me through, let me know. If there's any technical difficulties, might have to cancel this one too. Let's take out some of the music though. What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? So we got quite a bit on the docket today. Let's change the scene. Quite a bit on the docket today. We got to get into some Luka news. Luka Doncic. In the last video, I was reporting about Luka Doncic, his coach for the Slovenian national team, revealing, accidentally that Luka Doncic would be signing an extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. We have some LeBron news to get into. Jeff T talked about LeBron potentially taking steroids, so we have to cover that as well. We got some Kyrie Irving news. Kyrie Irving is streaming now, if y'all don't know. So he talked about his time with the Nets, and he was reacting to the LeBron's podcast where he had both Steve Nash, the coach of the Nets at the time, as well as Kevin Durant, his teammate. So we got a lot to get into, and then we also got a video with Dwyane Wade at the end talking about his career trajectory if he didn't get a bunch of injuries throughout his career. So what up to everybody who's watching, man? Finally got some of this audio to work again. Been spending the last 30 minutes trying to figure this shit out, man. This shit is ridiculous. Let me know if y'all can hear the sounds. What's good? What's good? What's good? But we got quite a bit to get into today, man. So we're going to go ahead and start off the story, man. And what up to everybody? Okay, so the first thing on the docket we got right now, man, we got the Slovenian national team head coach seemingly revealing that Luka Doncic has signed an extension with the Lakers or plans to sign an extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, this is huge news for a couple of reasons. Number one, it shows that the Los Angeles Lakers got a plan to move forward after LeBron, and that's huge news. So we're going to go ahead and get into that right now. So Luka Doncic, Slovenia's national team coach, seemingly reveals extension agreement with the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's get into that right now. So in one of the funniest ways possible, news has come out that Luka Doncic is set to sign an extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka will be taking part in Eurobasket with Slovenia this summer. Preparation for that will begin in early August. Luka, however, will not begin preparation for the team immediately, with his head coach, Alexander Sekulic, and pardon me if I absolutely butchered that, revealed on Wednesday. An article from Marvin Pavnik of Sports Club included in recent comments from Suklik, who noted Luka will join the team in early August after some important other business, emphasis added. So by important other business, what else could it be? You know what I mean? Important other business, he's saying in America for a certain reason. And what could that reason be? So he says, in light of this, it becomes crystal clear and reasonable to explain the first star of the Slovenian national team will join preparations for Eurobasket 2025 with a delay. Basically, NBA players can prepare for the national team for 28 days. Luka will shorten his period slightly. I expect him to arrive on August 4th when he has completed all his obligations in the USA, said his coach. So essentially, they go on to say, as things can be lost in translation, that this pretty much connects the dots and let them know that the only reason that Luka Doncic could be delaying this amount of time or not, going directly to his team would be because Luka Doncic is about to sign a contract extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. So as much as things could literally be lost in translation with this article, which has been written in Slovenian, it's hard not to connect the dots on this one. Luka is eligible to sign an extension with the Lakers on August 2nd if he's delaying joining Slovenia to complete something in America. It's pretty easy to figure out what that is. So Pavnik later reports in this piece that Luka is expected to sign a 4-year, $229 million extension. There are some reasons this might be up for debate. For one, it's hard to know how credible Pavnik is on this reporting. But for two, while a 4-year, $229 million contract extension is possible, as our own Brian Toporek detailed, is one that he calls the least likely for Luka to agree on of the potential pass. It's one that locks with the most money right now, but also costs him the most money down the line. So this article here is like a little bit of speculation of what Luka Doncic is going to go. Is he going to sign the agreement before he goes to Slovenia? It seems like what they might do, and I'll get into this a little bit later because there's another article that just came out today talking about Luka Doncic's potential extension. And they're saying that Luka Doncic might sign a smaller extension now, wait a couple years, wait till a max, and then go ahead and sign that. So that's extremely important to look at it. And we're going to get into that article right now. So it says here, Luka Doncic bracing for a jaw-dropping $369 million with the Lakers among contract extension talks. Woo! Luka Doncic, man. So Luka Doncic has quickly become the center of attention in the NBA once again, and this time is not about his performance on court. After being traded to the LA Lakers during the dramatic 2025 NBA season, he now finds himself in the spotlight with a potential record-breaking contract extension on the horizon. So the previous article is talking about the potential of him signing that contract before he went to Slovenia, and they were saying that he was going to sign that contract for $229 million for a 4-year, $229 million before August 3rd. To re-sign his extension with the Lakers and lock that in. But this article, which just came out today, which is from Matt DeLima, is saying that he may actually hold off and sign a 4-year, $369 million contract instead. So either way, it looks like Luka Doncic is going to continue to be with the Los Angeles Lakers. And this is critically important, as I said before, because it solidifies the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers are looking to move away from LeBron in their future, which I'm pretty sure has already been pretty clear from what they're doing right now. And they're looking to lock in Luka Doncic as their future moving forward. So even in this offseason, they got a center. They got some other pieces. So they're looking to build around Luka Doncic for the future. They know the future of the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron is not going to be around. And there's actually talks about LeBron potentially retiring next year, which we'll get into a little bit later on as well, too. So according to reports from ESPN insiders, Tim Bontemps, and Bobby Marks, Luka Doncic's future hinges on an important August 2nd date. So that refers back to that August 2nd date that I was telling y'all about. If Doncic chooses his standard route, he'll be eligible for a 4-year, $222 million deal, keeping him in Los Angeles through the decade. However, Doncic has a more strategic financial path available to him that could significantly increase his earnings. So this dude, either way, this guy's going to get the money. Either way. If Doncic chooses the standard route, he'll be eligible for a $222 million deal, keeping him on Los Angeles through the decade. However, I already read that. If Doncic instead opts for a shorter 3-year deal, around $160 million with a player option in 2028, 2029, he would be positioning himself for a massive payday down the line. By doing so, Doncic would then be eligible to ink a groundbreaking 5-year, $369 million contract in 2028, taking advantage of such an expected rise in NBA salary cap. So I think this is most likely what Luka Doncic is going to end up doing. I think even though it would be nice for him, the Lakers, to be able to lock this guy in for 4 years with that $229 million contract that the other article referenced, I think what's best for the Los Angeles Lakers at this point is to just make sure you lock him in for the most amount of time. But what's best for Luka Doncic is to sign the short-term contract, the $169 million, maybe 3-year, 4-year, $169 million. Give the team a little bit more cap space to work with, get other potential all-stars in there, because there's talks, and I don't want to make this too loud, but there's talks that maybe even Nikola Jokic may be an option for the Los Angeles Lakers. Nikola Jokic, Giannis, there's rumors of them potentially having those two as options to be able to play alongside Luka Doncic, which is the future that they're planning for. And honestly, the way the NBA treats the Lakers, bro, I would not be surprised. Somehow the Lakers always land an all-star by some way, shape, or form. Every single era of the Los Angeles Lakers always has 1 or 2 all-stars at least on their roster. So I would not be surprised if in the future you see Giannis in a Lakers jersey, or if you see Nikola Jokic in a Lakers jersey, especially Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic both being Eastern European guys. I think that would make sense, man. But yeah, I think the best move right now for Luka Doncic, and what he's most likely going to do, he's probably going to sign an extension, maybe a 3-year, $169 million extension, just to be able to have the Lakers lock him in, make sure they can build around for the future, make sure that the Lakers show Luka Doncic, okay, we believe in you, we're moving forward with you, and we're going to build around you. But it also gives Luka Doncic the potential opportunity to make even more money. As y'all remember, a big reason why Dallas traded Luka Doncic in the first place is because Luka had like a crazy supermax at the time. I believe it was like, I think like $320 million, something like that they were going to offer him. It was like a 5-year, $320 million max. But because of Luka Doncic supposedly being overweight, not practicing as much, not going as hard, the Dallas Mavericks did not want to pay him that supermax, and that is a reason why they ended up trading him to the Los Angeles Lakers. In their minds, they thought if they're going to pay this guy, our number one guy, that much money, we got to be able to see that work ethic on and off the court. And they were not seeing that with Luka Doncic, which is why they parted ways with him. So for Luka Doncic, he has a big chip on his shoulder now, especially being that he thought he was going to finish his career in Dallas, seeing how they just traded him away. You've seen Luka Doncic, man. I'm not sure if y'all said. Let me show y'all Luka Doncic, man. Luka Doncic has lost hella weight. Luka Doncic, weight loss. So Luka Doncic used to be big as hell before, and it's Luka Doncic now. This man done lost mad weight. This guy used to be so look at this picture right here. Okay, they're going crazy with that. But Luka Doncic at his peak was a pretty big guy, man. You can see even this picture right here, comparing what he looked like when he first got to the Lakers compared to what he looks like now. That is a huge difference between Luka Doncic before and Luka Doncic now. So supposedly from everything that we've been seeing, he's been taking a lot of the training, a lot of the diet extremely seriously. He has a chip on his shoulder because he feels like the Dallas Mavericks disrespected him by calling him a fat ass, essentially saying that we don't want to give you $300 million max because you're a fat ass, essentially. So for Luka Doncic, he's been doing all the right things, and I think the Lakers are going to reward him with a long-term contract because of that. But I don't know, what do y'all think? Do y'all think Luka Doncic should wait, maybe sign a smaller $160 million deal, 3 years, $160 million deal, allow for cap space, allow for the Lakers to build around him, and then when the CBA rises again in 2028, he can sign a huge contract that he ended up missing with Dallas? That would be a 4-year or 5-year, $360 million contract. Either way, man, like Luka Doncic is going to make that money back, and potentially they could build a championship team around him too. So it might be all W's for Luka Doncic. But let me know what you guys think, man. Go ahead with that. All right, in our next story, we got to talk about Bron. So a lot of stuff going on with LeBron right now. Let's do it right here. So LeBron James' retirement decision receives a new update. So after the Los Angeles Lakers were eliminated from the playoffs in April, the biggest talking point heading into the offseason and reshaping the roster and acquiring a new center to improve their championship hopes. However, no storyline has generated more buzz than LeBron James' future and the possibility of him playing his final season with the Los Angeles Lakers. And man, this shit has been toxic as hell, man. LeBron had one option, player option on his contract because he signed a 2-year contract a couple years ago. He opted into his 52.6 player option for the 2025-2026 season, but did not sign an extension with the Lakers, a move many interpret as a sign that his time in Los Angeles may be winding down. The rumors initially linked him with potential trade. So, of course, LeBron and his team did as much as they could to try to spin this on his camp. LeBron's agent came out, talked about they re-signed with the Lakers, but they also want to see the Lakers be competitive. They want to see the Lakers do stuff. And, you know, LeBron's at the twilight end of his career, so he wants to be on a competitive team and potentially win a championship. That's what you were hearing from LeBron's camp and his agent, Rich Paul. And then on the Lakers side, they're essentially saying it as, okay, LeBron did opt in with his player option, but we also didn't offer him a contract extension either because the Lakers on the back end are trying to move towards their future, right? Luka Doncic should be their future. So there's essentially different stories coming from each side. And from LeBron's camp, it does make sense. If you're a star player, this is typically what you do when you want to put pressure on the team to be able to build a team towards you. Around you. You put as much pressure on them to get them to do stuff, right? And in LeBron's to respect LeBron and for Luka Doncic, they got that center. They got DeAndre Ayton in the NBA offseason, so they finally got the center that they needed. So they're making moves towards getting to where they need to be, but they were severely lacking a center, and they finally got one. Kenneth Brown says this would be his final NBA season with the Lakers. Absolutely, Kenneth. I believe this will be his final season with the NBA Lakers. But not only that, and this is something we're going to be getting to, I think this might be next year might be LeBron's final season in the NBA period. So we're going to get into that as well too. So rumors initially linked him with potential trades. Recent chatter focused on whether James may be considering retirement next summer. So on top of LeBron and his camp trying to put pressure on the Lakers to be able to make some moves in the offseason, there was also rumors of different teams that LeBron could be traded to. There was the Cleveland Cavaliers that was brought up. There was not the Los Angeles Lakers, Cleveland Cavaliers. There was the Golden State Warriors. What was the other team? There's a couple other teams as well too. But I don't think any of these are going to materialize. What they would have to give up for LeBron for such a short period of time, it would essentially destroy their teams. And the only teams that would actually trade everything and go all in for LeBron and potentially LeBron's son are just teams that want to sell tickets. You know what I mean? And those aren't teams that LeBron wants to be on anyways. So I think for LeBron, man, this might be kudos, man. So the talks of James playing just one more year before he draws the curtain gained traction when ESPN's Dave McMenamin reported there had been no extension or trade talks between LeBron and the Lakers, suggesting James could be preparing for his last year in the league. That's right there. He also might average it from what I was reading from Cleveland, but it's interesting. You should check it out. He also might average it. What do you mean by also might average it? You mean like might average it? Yeah, I think I'll be honest. I think this year coming up, 2025, 2026, and this is probably they're gonna announce before the beginning of the season. I think LeBron's gonna retire. This might be his last year, in my personal opinion. Because at this point, going through a whole NBA season, the toll it takes on your body, the fact that LeBron already said publicly that his wife wants him to retire. You know what I mean? He said essentially came out and said that his wife is giving him 1 to 2 years max to be able to retire, right? She wants him to retire. So that's actually something similar that you heard from Tom Brady's wife before he eventually retired from the NFL as well too. Obviously that didn't work out the best, but I think LeBron's situation is a little bit different as well, right? He added, the sense I get is that LeBron wants it all. Later in this article, he said he wants the farewell tour. He wants all the different franchises reliving all his moments against him. He wants all the glitz and the glam that comes with one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time, calling it quits eventually. And then here's another article here from Full Court Pass. This came on July 18th. It says LeBron James is expected to announce his retirement advance as he wants a retirement tour. He would want the recognition, ceremonies, and celebration of his career that come across the league rather than quietly retiring in the offseason. Yeah, man, looks like LeBron, it might be kudos from his camp. The fact that he did not push for an extension, that there's rumors of trades, but I think that's more about just to put pressure on the Los Angeles Lakers. But also, most teams who would be able to contend for a championship aren't looking for a LeBron James at this point, bro. Like, not in the later twilight of his career. Obviously, LeBron still, physically can play the game. But at this time, I think a lot of NBA teams have smartened up. I think the super team is a thing of the past, and you're looking at putting the right pieces around your team. And for you to go all in on LeBron James, who might just have 1 year left in the league, it just doesn't make sense for most teams. So most GMs, unless they can just trade away some garbage or whatever like that for LeBron James, they're not going to be doing it. Should that be the case, it would align with how other legends ended their career. The late Kobe Bryant announced his retirement a few weeks into the final season and was honored by fans and franchise league throughout the year. So one thing I will say, man, the LeBron glaze throughout the entire season, when LeBron finally retires, man, that LeBron glaze is going to be crazy, man. That LeBron James, right, you're going to be seeing grown men all around the world crying, shedding tears. Kobe send-off was crazy. I think LeBron James send-off is going to be just as crazy, if not crazier, just as well. But yeah, there's also some other LeBron Jews as well, too. Let's get into Jeff Teague. So if y'all don't know, Jeff Teague, former NBA player, I believe he played with the Indiana Pacers. He also played with the Milwaukee Bucks. He won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks when he was part of the team in 2021, when he was on that Giannis team. 2021, Giannis, Drew Holiday, all those guys were on the team. Jeff Teague is hilarious, by the way. This guy, if y'all have never seen his podcast is called what's it called? It's called 520. Club 520 podcast, and he does a podcast with him and his boys. Anyways, he talked about LeBron recently, and this is what he had to say. And this actually
he was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids for real. Like Miami.
So he made the accusation that LeBron James, when he was on the Miami Heat, was on steroids. Let's see this.
Miami Heat, bro. He was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids for real. Like legit was on steroids, bro. Allegedly. But like he had to sit out. Y'all remember that though? They started testing for HGH, and he had to sit out. Like he said his back was hurt, and he sat out for like 3 weeks, and he came back skinny. I was in the league. I remember. And he came back. He was crazy though. Miami Heat, bro. He was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids for real. Like legit was on steroids, bro. Allegedly. But like he had to sit out. Y'all remember that though? They started testing for HGH, and he had to sit out. Like he said his back was hurt, and he sat out for like 3 weeks, and he came back skinny. I was in the league. I remember. And he came back. He was crazy though. Miami Heat.
So Jeff Teague is saying that LeBron, when he was on the Miami Heat, they were testing for HGH, which, if y'all don't know, is a type of steroid. And he said, oh, as soon as the league started testing for HGH, LeBron was out for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, got mad skinny. And then as soon as he was out for those 3 weeks, came back, was crazy, bro. Let me play it one more time.
He was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids for real. Like legit was on steroids, bro. Allegedly. But like he had to sit out. Y'all remember that though? They started testing for HGH, and he had to sit out. Like he said his back was hurt, and he sat out for like 3 weeks, and he came back skinny. I was in the league. I remember. And he came back. He was crazy though. Miami.
And this is funny too, because this is something that a lot of people have made claims about. Because everyone's like, yo, how is LeBron has had such longevity, has never really had a major injury. He's at 40 years old, still dunking out the gym, doing all this crazy shit. How has he been able to do this? And the number one conclusion that everybody, or a lot of people come to, is this motherfucker gotta be on steroids, man. He has got to be on steroids. Has got to be on them roids, bro. Because how are you able to do this? Jumping out the gym at 40 years old, man, it makes no sense. So Jeff Teague went on this podcast, and this was about a week ago he said this. But this guy, he backpedaled a little bit. So we gotta look at the backpedal. Jeff Teague said this, and he seemed to be pretty serious in this clip here. In this clip, it seems like he's keeping it a buck. He's being absolutely honest. He's saying what he feels. But let's see this guy.
I left. We got my dog, Bishop B hitting out the pearlies. How you what, man?
It looks like Jeff Teague, a couple of days later, after getting a lot of outrage and a lot of people talking about that clip there, and talking about him saying that LeBron was on steroids, this is what he had to say in response to that.
I guess I'm good, man. Y'all doing a lot today.
Hey, my boy stretched out where he went to the black forces with the black lasers.
Yeah, I ain't swap them out, bro. It's been a long day. Thanks to Jeff Teague.
Why me?
And it started yesterday.
Why me, bro?
When he posted, first of all, he never posted on his page. So for him to go out of his way to make an actual post, that's not from Clubhouse Twitter, bro. I didn't do that, bro. I just.
If y'all don't know, by the way, Jeff Teague is the one on the far left. The one with the mic on the far left, that's Jeff Teague.
Accepted the collab.
No.
That was Mike.
No, bro. I seen he still had TikTok in the corner, bro. I'm like,
oh, he's screen recording.
That was sent to us.
Yeah, but I'm like, why you posted though? Like,
no, Mike said accept the collab, and he and I accepted the collab.
That ain't how the collabs work.
Yes.
I be seeing the collabs. That ain't how that work.
You just weren't notified.
Oh, okay.
So you bring your artist for this?
Shout out to Mike. That's what y'all doing, Mike.
Everybody blame me for everything right now.
When they start talking about this shit.
Now that I use Monday service,
Oh my
AI
God,
makes
goddamn
solving
commercial,
tickets
man.
my
Let me speed
form
it up
of
and get to the
meditation.
part where we start talking about it.
Shout out to the game.
Yeah, all the way in, It's a black truck house.
Bro, it was a joke.
Black ass.
Man,
Back up.
Listen, bro.
We was only on Clutch Sports for 2 weeks, man.
They done kicked me off the clutch, bro. Listen, bro, it was a joke, bro. Like, what did they miss, bro?
Hey, now, before we even get to that, who do we have on the show that was from Clutch? And they were just like, yeah, I had to double check to see if he was actually on the roster. Was that Alicia Gray?
Yeah, Alicia Gray, yeah. Like, they like,
He's not, Alicia.
No, I'm not on Clutch Sports. And definitely after this, I will never get another Clutch opportunity. Because y'all take everything out of context. We were literally giving LeBron praise how dominant he was.
Yeah, y'all wasn't really watching the show. And I mean, that's why shit get clipped up, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And
So they're saying y'all weren't really watching the show. Y'all got this shit clipped up. Let me go back to the clip. Let me see what y'all think. Do y'all think he was joking? Does this sound like a joke to y'all?
He was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids.
Now, I will say in the beginning, it does sound like he's glazing a little bit, so I'll give him that. But let's see how he says it, though.
Like, legit was on steroids, bro. He was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids, for real. Like, legit was on steroids, bro. Allegedly. But
he said legit on steroids, then he says allegedly.
like, he had to sit out. Y'all remember that that though? They started testing for HGH, and he had to sit out. Like he said, his back was hurt, and he sat out for like 3 weeks, and he came back skinny. I was in the league. I remember. And he came back. He was crazy though. Miami.
He said he was legit on steroids, had to sit up for 3 weeks, and he said allegedly. The reason why you say allegedly, if y'all don't know, whenever there's an allegation, is that so that you don't get sued. You know what I mean? So he put that allegedly in there, which lets you know. And he looks straight faced, man. He looked absolutely serious. So I don't know about that, man. I'm not. What I assume happened is that Jeff Teague got mad phone calls after that shit went out and that shit went viral. He got mad phone calls probably from LeBron's team, from Clutch Sports, from Rich Paul, from the NBA, probably even a whole bunch of other people. Because bro, you can't be talking about the Golden Boy like that, especially not if he's about to retire as well too. You can't be doing that, man. So I think he definitely pulled. I think he definitely meant it, but because he got so many phone calls and so many people probably got at him, so much outrage as a result of that clip, I think he had to walk back them words. You know what I mean? I think, especially in media, it makes most sense for you just to walk back what you said, maybe apologize, say you were joking, whatever like that, and then the next couple of days there'll be another scandal that people will divert their attention from. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna play this one more time. This to me does not look like a joke. I mean, y'all can see what y'all say.
He was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids for real. Like legit was on steroids, bro. Allegedly, but
legit was on steroids, bro. Allegedly. So yeah, in my personal opinion, bro, that does not look like he was joking at all. I think he was keeping the buck. But obviously, you know, when you get a certain level of response and it gets a little bit too hot, sometimes you got to backpedal a little bit. So I think that's exactly what he did. But I think he was keeping it a beam, man. And I think, who knows, man? Maybe after LeBron retires, you know, there may be some people who leak some stuff. Who knows if he was on HGH, if he was ever on steroids, man? Only time will tell, but I think it's very easy for a lot of people to make that natural conclusion just from the simple fact of, like, LeBron has been bulletproof his whole career, bro. Like, he hasn't really had any real scandals. This, if there was a scandal that LeBron would be involved in, this would make a lot of sense, you know, especially when people are talking about how much money he spends on his body. I think he addressed that at one time as well, too. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, have y'all ever seen a 40-year-old like that? I know things are different now. People got trainers, people got dietitians, all this other stuff to keep your body healthier for longer. We know Tom Brady, if you watch football, played until he was like almost 45 years old, right? So it's a different era for a lot of players as long as they can keep their body healthy. But I don't know about all that, man. And then we had all this stuff here with these people alleging that LeBron was cheating on his wife and shit like that. But that's lipstick alley gossip stuff, man. We'll get past that. Let's go over here. But yeah, the next story we got, what we got? We got Kyrie Irving. So we had Kyrie Irving. He was reacting to the LeBron James podcast. They had Steve Nash on the podcast and they had Kevin Durant on the podcast. And they talked about their time in Brooklyn. If y'all don't remember, there was a time where James Harden, Kyrie Irving, as well as Kevin Durant were all on the Brooklyn Nets. They all got traded there. And when that happened, bro, the NBA world was set on fire because this happened right after Kevin Durant left the the Golden State Warriors. So it was like Kevin Durant went from one super team and then formed another super team in the Brooklyn Nets. And everybody, I remember when this trade went through, everybody's like, bro, NBA is over. You have James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant on the same team, over for everybody. But unfortunately, injuries were a thing. You know, COVID was a thing. Obviously, Kyrie got into some other issues there by tweeting a certain link. And that didn't go over well. And because of that, Kyrie Irving, I think at that point, did not want to play for the Nets anymore. And then eventually forced to trade and ended up going to Dallas. So a lot of different stuff happened in his time with Dallas. Sorry, in this time with the Brooklyn Nets. And then eventually James Harden. I believe James Harden was the first one to leave as well. So yeah, Kyrie Irving. If y'all don't know, Kyrie Irving is streaming now. Kyrie Irving is on Twitch, I believe. He has his own accounts. No, yeah, he looks like he streams on Twitch. I think he might be streaming on X as well too. But I think his main place is Twitch. But anyways, he gets online sometimes and he addresses a lot of this stuff. So let's see what he says in response to this.
When you think back to our time in Brooklyn, what do you think of? I had just signed that deal. You had just signed a deal. But I feel like we were secure, but everything else around us was going. And not in a bad way. We got GMs going to other teams. We got coaches going to other teams. We got players forcing trades. We got bringing Ben Simmons. He's back. Like, it was just so much. I had just signed that deal.
I believe Ben Simmons came in after James Harden got traded, actually.
You had just signed a deal. But I feel like we were secure, but everything else around us was going.
So when he says,
not in a bad way. We got
and it's obviously, again, I didn't take this personally.
Everything else around us was.
So when he says this, I'm not taking that personally. There was a lot going on around all of us, right? But how Steve ended up becoming our head coach, I'll let Kay answer that, right, when he's ready. But I already had my own thoughts on how the coaching situation was going to go, right? I felt like there were other candidates out there that could have definitely been our head coach that had championship experience. I think Steve had championship experience in his own way, in his role that he played at Golden State. But in terms of being a head coach, I had my own thoughts, right? And I'll get into that later in my...
By own thoughts, he means he did not want that motherfucker to be the head coach. That's essentially what he means by that. Another thing to remember, too, is that during that whole COVID situation while Kyrie Irving was with the Nets, Kyrie refused to take the vaccine as well, too. And obviously, everybody has their own opinion on that. Kyrie is free to do what he wants to do with his body. And, bruh, if I believe that I don't want to take that shit, I'm not going to take that shit. And that's essentially the stance that Kyrie Irving had. And the NBA at the time was saying that if you did not take that vaccine, you were not able to play. So Kyrie Irving took that stance along with the tweet caused the issue. And if y'all don't know, if you know, you know when it comes to the tweet that he reposted that caused the issue. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background during that time when Kyrie's with the Brooklyn Nets that I think rubbed him the wrong way. And I don't think he was a good fit for that organization at all, bro. Kyrie Irving is a very free-spirited person, has his own opinions, very strong thoughts. And, you know, he's not afraid to clash with it or to really go with what he believes in, you know what I mean? And I think that rubbed the Nets ownership the wrong way. So I think he's doing a lot better in Dallas. Anywho.
My documentary, but I'm just saying I had my own thoughts. And when Steve became our head coach, he even admitted to me that he had his own reserves on coaching me, and I had my reserves on him being coached by him. So we had already hashed that out, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, yeah, it was all easy around just everything in Brooklyn. We're one of the most watched teams now because we have all-stars, MVPs on the team. We are in New York City, in the media capital of the world. You just got to walk a little bit different. And I wasn't ready to walk that walk, and I don't know if I can't speak for them, but there was a lot going on, just not within the team, but just Brooklyn in general, the Nets.
I've recently come to learn that a lot of founders and marketers don't quite know how to look up their competitors' marketing strategy.
Another thing to keep in mind, this was Steve Nash's first time as an official head coach in the NBA. So it seems like Kyrie Irving, especially getting these three together, wanted someone with a little bit more experience, someone with championship experience, which is what he said, who could potentially take him to a championship and get there a lot quicker. Steve Nash, he'd been unproven in the NBA. Maybe he might have been an assistant coach somewhere. Maybe he was still around the game. But in terms of being an NBA coach, NBA caliber coach with NBA caliber experience, who could get y'all to a championship, that was not it. So it makes sense from Kyrie's perspective, especially leaving from Boston, where it wasn't really the best, and then being on the Cleveland before that, where he actually was on a championship team. Bro, you went from Cleveland, it didn't work out. You went from the Cleveland to Boston Celtics. Obviously, we know how that ended for Kyrie Irving. That did not end well either. Bro, you want to get back to that championship, bro. You want to be one of them guys in there. James Harden obviously has never won a championship before, so I'm sure he was thinking the same thing too. But the Brooklyn Nets eventually went with Steve Nash.
Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't feel like it was going to shit, but I felt like there was just a lot of structural change happening that was very quick, and he's coming off an Achilles tear. You know what I'm saying? He's coming off an Achilles tear.
I forgot about that because Kevin Durant was with the Golden State Warriors a year before, and in the year before they went to the NBA Finals to face the Toronto Raptors, and in, I believe it was Game 5 or Game 6, I think it was Game 5, Kevin Durant suffered his Achilles tear. Eventually the Toronto Raptors would go on to win the championship in 2019.
Right? And he's trying to get back into who he is. And I'm like, I'm ready now. This was the season I had my 50-40-90 where Steve's head coach. You know what I'm saying? We're having a great season, but at the same time, everything is just pretty much like easy, right? Everything's pretty much easy. Like everything's easy, everything's going. Then we trade for James, everything starts, improving and things of that nature. But during that season, I had a breakdown where I went through some things at home, went through some family stuff that I had to address, right? And I ended up not going into work for a certain amount of time, and I got killed for that, right? And everybody was like, yo, where's Kai at? Where's Kai out? And in between that time, Karras, Jared Allen got traded, and others got traded. Torian got traded for James. Not for James, excuse me. We ended up trading Karras, Jared, and then we got James, right? And then it kind of just started Like, think about it. Think about when you get James, Kyrie, KD on one team, then you add in all the other complementary pieces. It's just, for your first year, your second year, that's impressive. You know what I'm saying? That's impressive. No, again, when I had my 50-40-90 season, did I want to leave the team the way I did? Hell no. But again, I take my accountability for not being in the greatest space mentally, physically, emotionally, you know? So I didn't know how to even express that to them at the time. Like, yo, that's how I was feeling, this is what I'm dealing with. It was just kind of like me, isolated, being reclused, like, y'all don't really understand what's going on.
So you got GMs on the team, you got coaches going.
And I'll say that's fair of Kyrie Irving to, be man enough to be able to admit that, I was not in the right headspace. There's a lot going on, family stuff going on as well, too. Man, that Brooklyn team was a shit show, man. Absolute shit show. And they traded the house for that, too. I mean, they got rid of a bunch of first-round picks they had. They had a relatively good team in Brooklyn before they made it to the playoffs, before they traded for KD and all these guys. But as a GM, it makes sense, man. Like, you're a new GM, you're in there, you want to get the big fish, right? Like, you want to show the people who hired you, listen, man, I'm doing a great job. And what other better way to be able to show that other than to get KD, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden all on the same team? Three guys maybe in the prime of their career, maybe not so much for KD because he was coming off an Achilles tear, but to get these three big names, the biggest names in the NBA, three of the biggest names in the NBA, all on one team, that's crazy for a GM.
The team.
Yep, and he's talking about coaches on the team. Ime Udoka literally went to the Boston Celtics after coaching with us. That was crazy, bro. That was crazy. We had Ime Udoka literally go to Boston the next year. I mean, like, you had coaches leaving other teams, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just opportunity. But we're in the same division. Can you imagine going against the coach that literally saw all of our strengths and weaknesses, and now we're playing against them?
That's crazy. The fact that they had Ime Udoka on their team as an assistant coach, and they did not even hire that motherfucker to be the coach leading up when they had an opening, man. It's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So
Ime Udoka is a phenomenal coach. You've seen what he did with the Boston Celtics in 1 year, and now you're seeing what he's doing with the Rockets, man.
Ready for us. Ime had them ready, had the Celtics ready, dog. When we played them in the 2022 playoffs, shit got wild. Shit got wild, y'all. For sure, shit got wild. So we had a lot going on. KD is right. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna address. When I said I'm gonna address this on stream, it literally was just about doing this and having fun with it and letting people know. Okay. Letting people know like what it is. That whole Nets Big Three era. By the way, Nets World. You probably won't give me any credit, but Nets World, that's definitely something I came up with. But it's okay. Nets World probably was existence before I came up with. That's fine too. But when I started calling it Nets World, everything like that started going up. All right. So when James got traded for Ben, I don't think we knew the landscape of where Ben was at, right? I don't think we knew where Ben was at. So when that trade happened, it shocked a lot of people. It shocked me. I was talking to James one day. I'm like, shit, bro, we about to win these championships. And it was like a day later, asked for a trade. I was like, oh, shoot.
Damn, he's saying that James Harden, he was talking to James Harden the day before he got traded, saying, hey, man, we finna go win that chip, man. We finna get that chip. Let's go get it. The day after, asked for a trade. So it seems like James Harden wasn't really happy with the direction of the team. But I don't know if he was making that vocal, because for you to be, seemingly okay with everybody, and at that time it definitely was a shit show. But he wanted out, man, and eventually he dipped out.
Okay. Shit like that now. Okay, I can't be mad. I'm not gonna ever be mad at someone doing what's best for them. Right? And shout out to James. Right? And I've had my conversation with James, and I told him, I said, bro, I understood completely what you were doing.
Because it was a shit show, gang.
You're in the middle of the season, you're unsure about what I got going on, you don't know what the next portion of your career is gonna look like.
It was crazy.
Things are going on, so you have your questions, what contract you gonna get. Because we're all max deal players at that point. Me, James, and Kay are all max deal players. We are all.
That's another thing. There's only so much money to go around, man. So James Harden, James Harden about his money. He's used to being a number one guy. He wants that max deal.
Worth whatever we're about to get paid, right? I'm going to say that out loud. But when that happened and we got Ben, a lot more pressure started to come in on our franchise. Because now, not only do we have this going on, but also we have a situation that Ben is dealing with where everybody is trying to micromanage the spun narrative. Like, he doing this, he doing that. So it wasn't a fair trade at the outset, right? It was not at all. I didn't feel like that was a fair trade. But at the same time, when it happened, he went to our division. He went to Philly. So now.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. James Harden dipped out, went to Philly, and for the Nets, bro, that was a nail in the coffin because they got a Ben Simmons player who mentally was just not there anymore, bro. He had the back issues, and who knows if that was a legitimate issue, if it's just something that became psychological and stopped him from being able to play. But you see, man, Ben Simmons at this point in his career is absolute shell of himself, of what he used to be, of his potential. When Ben Simmons first came in the league, man, they were thinking this guy might have been a LeBron James level player. His passing ability, his dunking ability, how tall he is, his being able, like 6'9", and being able to dribble the way he does like a point guard. They were talking about this dude like he was about to be the next LeBron. But I think that back injury that debilitated him, and mentally he just never was able to recover from what he had going on. So that's a little bit what Kyrie said of what he talked about his time in Brooklyn. It seemed like there was a whole lot of stuff that happened in Brooklyn, a lot of stuff with Kyrie specifically that happened. And I think what seemed like a good idea, and from the general manager's perspective, what seemed like an absolute home run, knock it out the park, things don't always turn that way, right? You had COVID, you had a whole bunch of other stuff happening. And I think, honestly, like what Kyrie said, man, I think they just weren't prepared for what was coming their way. There was just a whole lot of bullshit in such a short amount of time. And when stuff like that happens, man, especially when all the players are on the same team, on the same page, general managers on the same page, head coaches aren't on the same page, shit happens, man. And eventually Steve Nash got fired. I believe that general manager probably got fired as well too. And then obviously the team got broken up. KD ended up leaving. He ended up going to the Suns. Kyrie ended up leaving, going to Dallas. And then obviously James Harden was the first to ask for a trade. Ended up going to the Philadelphia 76ers. And right away it ended up working for him because they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals before they flamed out. And then, James Harden dipped out as well too. And now he's on the Clippers. So a lot of stuff happened during that time, man. And I think we can all say that Brooklyn Nets experiment was a colossal failure. And I think that Brooklyn Nets experiment was a final nail in the coffin for super teams as well too. As you can see in the NBA, the days of just getting a bunch of all-stars on your team and hoping that that's going to bring you to the promised land, those days are gone. And I think that Brooklyn Nets team was the final nail in the coffin. I think teams finally understand that getting all these all-stars on your team, you have to sacrifice something as a result of that. And what you're sacrificing is your depth. Because when they traded for James Harden, when they traded for KD, all these people, Kyrie, the Brooklyn Nets had a lack of depth on their team. And it definitely showed when Kyrie was out. And when it's just James Harden or Kevin Durant wasn't 100%, these guys were not going to be able to make it to the finals with just one or two all-stars in their depth alone. And you see it in the modern NBA too, like a team like the Indiana Pacers being able to go all the way to the NBA Finals, a team like OKC, where they have that one superstar, maybe they have another complementary player in Jalen Williams, but they have the depth around them to be able to, whether it's defensive depth, whether it's rebounding, defensive, you know what I mean? Like to be able to bring that team all the way to the finals. And even when your star is taking a break, when Jalen Williams is out or Chet Holmgren is out, still be able to maintain or defend a lead. So I think the NBA, it's a lot faster paced game now. It's a lot less ISO because that slows the game down a little bit more. But I think teams are definitely building with a little bit more depth in mind. And I don't think, even though you still need to have stars to be able to win in the NBA, I think the days of just being able to take 2 or 3 stars, put them together like the Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets, those days I don't think it's as effective as it is now as it was back in those days. All right, we got one other topic, man. We have Dwyane Wade. Dwyane Wade was recently on a podcast. I believe it was on Carmelo Anthony's podcast, and he talked about his career trajectory. Obviously, we know Dwyane Wade is one of the best shooting guards ever in NBA history. Well, he talked about what his career would have been like if he never had a bunch of injuries in his career. And this is what he said on the podcast here.
Really, they don't understand my game, right? Like you don't know what I did. I did so many different things. And I played so many different roles, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm not the greatest shooter all the time. I'm not the greatest this, but I was great at so many different things. And Melo talked about it. Then I learned how to be great at being a role player. Then I learned how to be, and so I learned how to be great at all these things. And no one knows how to really break down my game. So they look over it and they just go to, 1 or 2 things. But I did so many things in the game of basketball. So Yeah, I mean, when I had it, I thought I was gonna be before injuries. I'm like, MJ, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's my mentality.
I know the mentality.
This guy said before injuries, I said, MJ, I'm coming for you. Let me tell y'all, D Wade, 2006, pretty much single-handedly brought his team for the win over the Dallas Mavericks to win the championship in 2006 when he was with the Miami Heat, even with Shaq on that team. D Wade was that dude, bro. D Wade was my favorite player back in the day. He was absolutely amazing. Was one of those players that essentially will you, literally just will you all the way. This guy, once he was in that hot streak, bro, he was ready to go. And D Wade had amazing athletic ability, defensively, offensively, everything, man. D Wade was a complete player. The only thing you can say about D Wade is that he wasn't necessarily the best at everything. D Wade, I believe, never had an MVP. He's been to obviously a bunch of all-star games. He's never had a shooting title. I believe he only has one shooting title in his career. So because he played in the era with LeBron, Kobe, a lot of these other players, he never had the accolades to show that he was a dope player. But D Wade got to be top 5 all time in terms of shooting guards, man. D Wade is absolutely amazing. But anyways, man, let me know what y'all think about this one, about D Wade, about him saying that if he never got injured, he would have been on a Jordan-like trajectory in his mind. You know, I think every player is definitely welcome to think that, and you should think that as a player. You should want to be like, listen, man, I'm chasing the GOAT. That's how you should be. That's what your mentality should be when you're coming to the NBA and when you're on that hardwood. Especially him after that 2006 season, I can see how he would believe in that. But eventually, injuries are part of the game, and eventually D Wade succumbed to the injuries, had to retire early, and was never really the player that he started out as, especially late in his career as a result of these injuries. But anyways, man, that's everything we got on the docket for today, man. We will be live streaming again, I believe, on Thursday, this Thursday again, and then on Sunday we'll be covering if there's anything relevant or interesting. We'll be covering those news stories as well too. So yeah, make sure y'all subscribe, man. We're gonna be live streaming at least once per week, and then as soon as the NBA season starts, we're gonna be live streaming the NBA games as well too. We're gonna be live streaming key matchups. NBA season starts again in October. If it's preseason, we'll be live streaming some of those games as well too. But we're going to keep it in the loop, man. Anyways, man, appreciate anybody who was watching, and we'll be out, man. We're out. Peace.